Welcome to the Coach's Corner. Coach Clarence is an entrepreneur, financial expert, and passionate about helping people build and market their business. He has a creative flair for thinking outside the box and is always looking for the positive side of life. Now, here's Coach Clarence.
So to fit over 40, we'll do that again. Little technical difficulties, so hope we get through this show without any glitches. I'm your host, Coach Clarence from Fit Over 40, and my guest today is Phil Catudal. I hope I said that right.
You got it.
Awesome. He is a celebrity trainer with empowering fitness philosophies based on accountability, education, and dedication. I like that. He's born in Montreal, Quebec. He is a cancer survivor, a top MBA honors graduate. He's known for being a celebrity trainer, my old job. No, local celebrities. He founded Zone Nutrition and co-founded Transcend Health, all while being a devoted father, husband of four. Phil's success has made him a favorite among Hollywood's elite, and he now offers personal training in Atlanta and online coaching, providing nutrition, exercise consultations worldwide. Beyond fitness, he enjoys family time, exploring languages, recipes, and embracing the latest tech trends. Phil, thanks for being on. Let's get this going. What's
You
good?
got it. Hey, thanks for having me on, Coach. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
Life is good.
So listen, I ran through your accolades. What I found, people want to know a little bit more about you, how you got to where you are now. So run us through that, and then we'll get into some of those other goodies.
100%. So first of all, got to say the elephant in the room. I almost exclusively work with clients over 40, but I'm still 35. So I'm squeaking by here.
All right.
Like, hey, what? So, no, my background essentially is, it's kind of something that I couldn't avoid. So I had cancer as a kid. I had leukemia for 5 years, and it just kept being this thing where, like, no matter what I tried to do to escape healthcare. So by age 8, I was cured. I was all better, but I could tell you all about what my white and red blood cells did, what methotrexate was, how chemotherapy, lumbar puncture. So being in the hospital system, and obviously having a great reverence for doctors, made me greatly appreciate health. But a few years after that, my dad, who was a bodybuilder and a runner and successful businessman, he ended up getting lung cancer and passing away quite soon after. And then my brother, my older brother, ended up getting testicular cancer. He survived and was fine. So it became this thing where my family, for whatever reason, whatever you if you believe in something or not, whether it's for a reason or divine or not, we are 4 kids, and I'm the baby of 4, and all 4 of us are fitness freaks. And we joke that we have the world's best genetics. We look great, we have ripped bodies, but we're prone to cancer and these other health things. And so it became this kind of thing where nothing in life is guaranteed, and your life can change tomorrow. So we've all adopted this mentality. You just do the best you can. So having gone through that crisis myself, dealing with cancer, I have pretty much all my childhood memories, being bald and going through chemo and radiation, and then losing my father. I tried to escape it. And I tried to do, I did an MBA, I did business school, I did all these things, but no matter what I was doing, I was never happy. I was happiest in the gym. I started weightlifting at 14 and I never looked back. And I was happiest when I was helping other people get stronger or lose some weight or gain some muscle, or just realize the mental health benefits. It helped me a lot through depression as a teenager. I didn't realize it was depression, but I was like, oh man, I miss my dad. Oh, I don't really have a father figure, all these things. So I kind of used fitness and wellness and eating well and training and taking care of my body to also heal my heart and my mind and my spirit. And then no matter how many jobs I went to do different things and be a consultant, I was like, I'm not happy. And I was lucky enough to have a supportive partner who was like, go for it, go for what you love. And so pretty much been a trainer for 17 years since I legally could be one, but I kept trying to leave it and go to other jobs. And I never lasted more than 3 weeks. By 3 weeks, I was like, I got to go back to the gym. And then I literally just told my wife at the time, I was like, we're going to go to LA and I'm going to make it as a celebrity trainer. And knock on whatever you will, just grind it out and hustled and made it work. And now I actually don't do that as much. I prefer to work with everyday people, normal people, but just I found that it was fun. I think it gave me street cred and I got to write a book and be on TV and all these cool things. But I got into health to change people's lives. My slogan is to make people healthier and happier, because that's what it did for me. And I realized working all these celebrities, it was cool. And I still do that. But giving somebody a 6-pack or looking awesome for a movie isn't changing lives, right? It's not what I wanted to get into. So now I'm blessed enough to do kind of both. And it's something that if I won the lottery, if I won $1 billion tomorrow, the only difference is I would probably train a few less clients because I work a lot, but I will do this till the day I die. I love working with people and helping them be the best version of themselves, because I know what it's like to lose that and not have it.
Yeah, it's good when you do something that you're passionate about, because you can do it forever.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about some tips you can get people for work-life balance. You know, we have that older 40 crowd, and a lot of objections I get talking to people is I don't have time. How do you get your clients to figure out the balance in all of this?
100%. So that's one of the biggest things. And I like to think about time management really as a skill, right? So a lot of people don't have that skill because they're all or nothing. And the unfortunate mindset of that, and we see it in movies and TV, it's like, go big or go home, bro, or like do this, and like it's on or it's off. And we have this binary mentality. And so what happens is people look at their watch or they look at their calendar like, oh, well, I don't have an hour to do a workout. I'll do it tomorrow. Or I already messed up my cheat meal. Like I'll just write off the whole day and we'll call it even. So what I instill in my clients from day one, I'm really big on setting goals and also expectations. Like, hey, you want to lose 10 pounds? This is what it will take. Are you committed? And then if your actions don't align with that, it's not going to get there. So don't be surprised when you don't achieve the goal. So basically, we set out this roadmap. You have 3 workouts. You're going to do an hour a week. If the day comes and your kid is sick, or like that happened yesterday, my kid was sick. I had to call and cancel 2 clients this morning. Life happens. If you don't have time to do the 1 hour workout, most people are going to skip the whole workout and they're going to cop out. And sometimes life gets really busy. You miss 1 and 2 and 3 workouts. So what I'll tell my clients is you always have 10 minutes, right? So if you can't do the 1 hour workout, keep the habit. Still do 10 minutes. If you have the cheat meal breakfast, that's fine. Don't feel guilty. Enjoy it, but then make good decisions the rest of the day. That doesn't mean you get to throw the whole day away. So sometimes the thing I try to instill, or the trick I would give people, is just because you didn't achieve perfection doesn't mean you throw it all away. If you got 85 on a test and you didn't get an A, you don't just stop. If you don't know an answer, you don't just hand in the test blank, right? Like we don't give up on other things in life. Why do we do that with food and with workouts? I wish I knew the answer to why. I don't know why, but I do know that the only way to combat that is discipline, by saying, hey, I can't do 100%, but I'll do what I can. And so that's what I just, I tell my clients to show up, whatever that means on the day. You got to show up. You can't quit.
Yeah, I did a podcast about the dial technique, and basically the dial technique is like a volume meter. Some days you can go to 8, 9. Some days, like you just described, that children at home sick, maybe you can only do 10 minutes. So maybe that dial's turned down 3 or 4,
I love that.
People have this, like you said, all or none. And I literally was having this conversation yesterday. This woman was telling me, oh, I got to just quit drinking. I got to quit doing all this. And I'm like, breathe. You just started this. We're in this a month. You're not going to do all that in a month. Take your time. Let's do bite size. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time, one little thing, and it gets better. And then because people say, I'm sure you've heard this about motivation. You're not always going to be motivated. But what you can always do is have habits that you follow. And those habits lead to progression. So kind of tell me some good and bad about working out too much or constantly putting the pressure on yourself to eat healthy.
Yeah, I think actually this applies especially to people over 40. And the reason for this is because we live for the younger years. I'm lumping myself in, but it's true. I feel remarkably different at 35 than I did at 25 when I was invincible. And so I only know what is coming ahead. But what happens, and I've seen this, I'm sure you're going to laugh when I tell this, but I'll have guys come in who are between 40 and 46. They still look great. They're looking good for their age. Like life is going well, but they probably haven't played sports or worked out hard in 5-10 years. They played college ball. Like they still got the ego. They have the mentality of the college players. So they'll go on their first workout and I'm like, tone it down. They're puking 20 minutes in, or they're pulling a hamstring at the grocery store. Like they haven't trained for 10 or 20 years, but for some reason they think they have the capacity to do what they used to do without any of the good habits and the training and the conditioning they used to have. So I think that's, hilarious, and I'm guilty of it myself, but I bring that up because that's one of my first kind of tips is easing into it. If you're over 40, or really, frankly, if you're over 30 and you've been out of the gym for truly more than a year, let alone 3 years, 5 years, a decade, if you're 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 50 pounds heavier than you used to be, starting anywhere close to where you used to be, not only is it not a good idea, you're more likely to get injured and then set yourself further back. So kind of having life serve you that humble pie and realize you're starting now, and it's never too late. It's never too late to start. You're starting now, and the goal is to do it for the rest of your life, not to just do it for your 40s and then quit again, or do it for your 50s and quit. So let's just start with some body weight stuff. See how you feel. Give it a day of rest. Then let's add in the weights. We're going to do compounds. We're not going to just do bicep curls to look good. We're going to be functional. Can you squat? Do your hips and knees bend, right? So I think of building the foundation, strengthening your bones, your connective tissue. It doesn't matter if you can bench press 3 plates, right? What matters is, can you pick up your kid, your grandkid? Can you mow the lawn without getting hurt? Do you just wake up and not be in pain, right?
Yes.
So trying to give people the mentality, and again, setting that expectation of, okay, do you want to look like Henry Cavill? We can do that, but it's not going to happen in 4 months. We're going to, or do you even want to look like that if it's going to take 2 hours a day of working out? So I really think it's important to sit down. What do you want? What are you willing to give? And what will it take? So that's kind of the way I parse it out, is letting people know that we can do it, but it's going to be a journey, and we got to be in it for the long haul. It's not these quick results and all of these miracle drugs and things out there. Not to knock on medicine. I think it's very important for a lot of people, but habits and hard work are way more important than just taking some hormones or peptides or chemicals. Those can be tools. I'm okay with medical stuff and anti-aging and using stuff appropriately. But if people just reach for the shortcut and don't do any of the work, it's not sustainable, and it's actually likely to cause more harm than good.
Okay. We had froze for a second, so I want to restate my question. That's actually a great segue, talking about body types. And what do you think of hormone replacements and all these type of things right now that a lot of people are getting into, especially in the latter ages?
Yeah, so I'm a huge advocate for it. I'm not a doctor myself, but I have personally seen the anecdotal evidence and the research evidence of how much it can improve people's quality of life. And Dr. Peter Attia and a lot of these, big health doctor podcast guys are talking more these days about health span more than lifespan. So it doesn't matter necessarily how long you live. So let's say you could live to 90 years old, but between 70 and 90, you're tired, you're frail, you're weak, you can't do anything. Well, health span is how long can you live while feeling awesome? And so hormone replacement for both men and women is helping people get leaps and bounds, orders of magnitude better in performance. They're not breaking their bones when they fall. They're having the energy in their 40s and 50s that they did in their 20s, 30s, mental confidence, sexual health, all these things. I do think that they're way overprescribed. I think some people are taking them because it makes you look really good and real buff really quick. And they're basically, well, frankly, they're not taking testosterone replacement levels. They're taking steroid levels. And so we do see a lot of abuse, or people who are like totally healthy and just take it because the doctor will give them the prescription. I do think that will be a problem because it can lead to heart problems, prostate and testicular cancers. There are some connections, and you should look in your family history, talk with your doctor. So I do think it can be hugely beneficial, but I also think so many people are taking it without actually looking into their genetics, their health. And in 10 to 20 years, if they have a heart attack or they have testicular cancer, they're like, oh, shoot, man, was it worth it? Whereas if they look into their medical history and chat with a doctor instead of just paying $80 to a guy on the internet, which is legit, you can get it over Facebook now. To me, that's terrifying. But I do know some people personally who have, overcome anxiety, depression, got new jobs, got married. It's changed their life. So I think it's great, but it's a personal decision that requires research and a good doctor. I don't think anyone should be getting it just over the internet.
Gotcha. Talk a little bit about body types and how that I noticed in your information, you speak about unique body types. Explain what that means to the audience.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. So I wrote a book on this actually called Just Your Type, The Ultimate Guide to Eating and Training for Your Body Type. And it's interesting. So there's this thing called somatotypes, and people have heard of them before. There's ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph. And that's basically a way of saying, are you long and lean? Are you really rectangular, muscular, and boxy? Or are you a little softer with a rounder midsection? And I'm simplifying, but the science, it has debunked, we've debunked for decades now the fact that this is like a specific thing. Like, of course, there are more than 3 body types. So I do agree with that. I'm not saying there are only 3 body types, but I wrote this book to say, if a woman comes in, for example, and she's 5'1" and curvy and Latina, and then she is following Gwyneth Paltrow's workout and diet from Goop, it's the Einstein quote. If a fish judges itself by its ability to climb a tree, of course it's going to think it's an idiot, right? So we have this problem where people who have wildly different body types, or just frankly like bodybuilders, the top 1% of bodybuilders, they all take the same drugs, they all do the same workouts, they eat the same food. It's genetics, where your muscles attach to your body. How you look, it doesn't matter how hard you train. Your abs come how they come genetically. Your biceps, like they can insert here and you can get a big peak. And I have a very wide arm, but I don't have the cool whoop, because that's determined by your genetics.
Sure.
And so body types, and my whole book is saying, hey, look, I'm not saying this is a foolproof way to get the dream body you've ever wanted. What I'm saying is, if you naturally are long and lean, you should eat this certain way and focus a lot more on strength training and lifting weights to add lean muscle, because you have no body fat, but you also have no muscle. And if you're a kind of boxy rectangular person, you could eat in this way and train perhaps if you want to get bigger with weights, or the ratio of how much. I believe everyone should be doing strength training and cardio, but the ratio of how much, how often, how much are you lifting, that changes depending on the body type and also the goal, right? So if you tell a 5'1" guy he can't play basketball, well, that's not fair. It's very unlikely he'll be dunking, right? But he could have a great shot. So all this to say that our bodies have genetic predispositions to certain things. It doesn't it doesn't guarantee anything. It doesn't limit you, but you're going to be naturally better at doing and looking certain ways, and naturally worse. Like if you're short, you can't go up, right? So work with your body instead of always comparing yourself to something you're not, and you can be the best version of that. Any body type can get abs, any body type can get strong, but it might take a lot more work or different cardio or different training. And that's why my number one rule is personal training is personal. 2 friends could do the same diet and workout plan and get wildly different results. That's not surprising to me. I know why. A lot of people are like, what? We did the same thing. What's happening? And it's because body physiology varies wildly, individual to individual.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I love that you approach it that way. A lot of trainers will do a cookie cutter approach. Just, this has worked for me. Or, maybe you've made this mistake. When I started training, I did things that worked for me. Like, oh, this is how I do cardio. This is how I lift weights. And it took me a while to figure out you can't train people that way. You got to train what works for them. Same thing with eating. Obviously, talk a little bit about your nutrition philosophy, which is, do you kind of have a soul philosophy? Like some people say they're vegan or they're carnivore or they're this, that, and other. How do you approach nutrition?
Yeah, I think that's an awesome question, because we finally gotten to the phase of the internet. I find it funny, but it's like whatever's the trend of the month, right?
Right.
We've finally at least gotten to the point where, in my opinion, the general public, everyone now knows, oh crap, it doesn't matter how much you work out. Nutrition determines like how you look. Nutrition is so important. But then, yeah, people want to sell their products. So you got carnivore guy, liver king guy, vegan, intermittent fasting, keto, vegan, hardcore over. I don't subscribe to any of it. The only thing that we scientifically know of proof is CICO, calories in, calories out. So we know for a fact that if you eat more calories than you burn, you're going to gain weight. And if you eat fewer calories than you burn, you're going, if you consume less calories than you require for your body, you'll lose weight. We also know roughly that 3,500 calories burned is a pound of body fat. And we also know the more protein you eat, within reason, there is a limit, But the more protein you eat, the more muscle you're going to build and retain. And the more fiber you eat, the healthier your digestion and the more full you're going to feel. So if you have a high protein, high fiber diet, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel more full. You're going to have more muscle and you're going to be less likely to overeat on bad food. Mm-hmm. Those are the only scientific facts that we know. Outside of that, it's total personal preference. So whatever boat you want to get in that gets you to the end of the stream. I have clients that do mono meals. So they literally eat one meal a day. That's it. That's wildly extreme. I do not subscribe to that. This client I'm thinking of, they said it helps them feel better. So they're eating a 2,200 calorie meal one time at the end of the day with all of their macros inside of it. Crazy to me. For him, it works. Most of my clients, I just have them on, the world revolves around breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's the easiest way to portion out your calories, macros. Here's your breakfast, lunch, dinner. We throw in a protein shake or snack. I will adjust the macros and calories for them. But I take that personal approach. If you don't like fish and you hate seafood, I'm not going to say you got to have white fish 3 times. Like, no plan is sustainable if you can't do it. If somebody tries keto and keto works for them, first I'll explain the reason it works is because you lose glycogen, you're not eating carbs, you're not holding water, you're going to lose 20 pounds. Yeah. Unless you plan to do that for life, which is actually, based on my research, bad for your health. What's the point? Because you're going to gain it back. So I'm all about moderation. Carbs, protein, fat, fruits, vegetables. I eat any and everything. Every now and then I'll have Chick-fil-A or whatever with my kids. Like, have a normal, healthy, good life.
Is it okay to do it if you don't have kids? Just ask me for a friend.
Well, I mean, the real truth is I'm doing it for me. I'm lying and get to use them as an excuse. But yeah, like life, you can't restrict all the time because you need to have balance and you'll go crazy. But if you have goals you want to achieve, there do have to be restrictions and sacrifices. And then it's up to each person to figure out what they want. Some people will train with me. They're like, I want to bodybuild. I want to do a bikini show. And I've done that before myself and trained people. Like 10 weeks into the process, they're like, is this how bad it always is? I'm like, oh, you haven't even started. It gets way worse. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Well, okay, let's get a new goal. So I mean, so my philosophy is you can make anything work, but it's really what can you subscribe to and keep doing, let alone for weeks and months. I'm talking years, decades. To me, the only one that I have found sustainable for the majority of people, myself included, is a balanced approach where you're mindful of not eating crap food all the time. You are mindful of portion size and the real big killers like soda, alcohol, salad dressing, which is pretty much just pure calories. Just put lemon juice on it or a little olive oil, things like that. Not cooking your food in olive oil so much in the pan that you're basically deep frying it in fat. Use a little spray, use a tablespoon. Like, little tricks can go a long way. But I think anyone doing these fad diets are setting themselves up to failure. Even if they get the results, they lose the 30 pounds in 3 months. Okay, it's going to come back. Sorry, And so I don't like to ever train anyone that way. I want to keep them on a constant path of progression.
Sounds good. Yeah. Talk about how you parlayed some of your personal struggles into your fitness success and your business success, and how do you coach your clients to use their struggles and turn it into success?
Yeah, that's it's funny because I believe that everybody has their own trials and struggles, but there's this interesting thing, at least in the cancer community. Everyone's like, I don't, we call it, you don't want to play the cancer card. But you don't, because it's not like you're looking for sympathy. And especially in my case, like I was 3 to 8, I remember it, but I wasn't suffering through it while having a family or a career. But I also realized it was absolutely and completely formative. I'm like, man, why am I such an optimistic, happy person? Or like, life can get pretty crappy. Why do I always push through? Or why do I'm like, oh, wait, because my whole childhood, where the normal kid is crying over a toy or doing things, not to say I wasn't a normal kid. I played Nintendo and did whatever, but also like I was keenly aware that there's a possible chance I die, right? And my parents were the ultimate parents and so loving and kind. And like, they never let me feel their fear, even though now that I'm a parent and my kid gets a cold, I start freaking out. I can't imagine what they were going through. But the way I've parlayed that into my business is first of all, for myself, having this gratitude of, wow, from having this disease that has killed millions and kills millions of people every year to being super healthy. I wondered for a long time if I could have kids because of chemotherapy, but I had it so young, it didn't affect my fertility. So I had all these questions in life. And one by one, I realized, man, it did suck. And losing my dad as an 11-year-old boy, that sucked. Like he was the big, strong bodybuilder runner. So all of these trials and things I went through, as crappy as they were, absolutely formed my mindset of we can get through hard things, bad things can end. We can turn sad stories into learning, into growth. I feel like it put me on the accelerated path in terms of I'm 35, married, have 4 kids, have a good job. Like I didn't ever want to waste time. And now I'm trying to slow down. The work-life balance question you asked me, I don't know the answer. I try to be home by 3 and be with my kids every day, and I'm doing my best at that. But I am a very carpe diem, seize the day person, because I know that tomorrow is not guaranteed. Yeah. And I wish people didn't have to face mortality and get a serious disease or lose a parent or lose a loved one to realize, oh my gosh, it could end tomorrow. Because it can end tomorrow, not in a scary way, but like, I know that in my bones now. So that's how I live every day. But trying to teach that lesson to somebody who hasn't felt those emotions or experienced that, it can be hard. So when I have my clients, I try and do this thing like the angel and the devil on the shoulders. I'm like, you know what, you got both of those. And some days you're going to be a little more angelic and some days a little more devil, but you have to have that balance. So like, push yourself. It's hard work to gain muscle, to drop body fat, to stop eating ice cream every day if these are your habits, especially if it's an addiction or a compulsion. So you have to find that balance, push, but also be gracious, be kind to yourself. And I think building healthy habits is the secret to life.
The internet is
froze there a little bit back.
Yeah. So my next question to you is, what inspired you to write your book? Was it part of your business philosophy, or is it just things that you wanted to parlay from your personal, journey in fitness?
Yeah, the book, it was twofold. So one, I always had a goal to write a book. It was just a goal I had. I enjoy writing, and I was great at writing in school and college, but there were always essays. I would go to debate and write political essays or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, I know I can write, but no one wants to read an academic paper on fitness and wellness, or some people do, but not most people. And then it came about from 2 ways. One was client after client after client, not only my own clients, but of all of the other trainers and people I saw around. And at the time I was in Los Angeles, and that's kind of where the main bulk of my career was. I was there for a decade training people. And I was like, man, I wish just these people could see that, first of all, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with all of these Hollywood stars, and they have personal chefs and trainers and access to money and more time and all these things. Like it made me feel bad that people were comparing themselves to these stars who, A, they won the genetic lottery, and B, they had access to all the best of everything.
Yeah. And
then the second was that it was completely unrealistic that, again, like it was the 5'1" Latina woman trying to be Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm like, well, that's not possible. And not to shoot down your goal, but like you can be the most fit, good version. You can get abs, like you can get a body that is the best version of your body, but you can't change where your body holds body fat, how your structure of your bone density is. You're not going to be 10 inches taller. Or to the guy who's like, I just want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's just so far off from that. And then realizing Arnold Schwarzenegger was on copious amounts of steroids. And that's not, I mean, anyone who knows anything knows that, but it's not a secret. He admitted it. Like if the person's not willing to do that, they're going to come nowhere close to that level.
And there was a lot of genetics there too.
Yeah. I mean, at 16, the guy looked like a 25-year-old man that had been lifting weights his whole life.
No.
Incredible. He's a specimen. That's what got me into lifting. I love Arnold, but
yeah, I love Arnold too.
So yeah, I wrote the book to answer everyone's questions. Like, hey, here's how to train for your body. Here's how to eat for your body, and only be your best self. Stop just, crowd out the noise. Don't listen to it. Here's what to do, and essentially become your own trainer and your own nutritionist for your body and set your own goals. And enough people asked that I did it. I found a writer to do it with me. We pitched an agent. The process fell perfectly together, and it felt like it was meant to be. And it's probably still the most gratifying thing I've done in terms of it's nowhere near close. Writing a book, unless it's Harry Potter, you're not making money. I did not make money off the book. In fact, I think I owe the publishing company, even though I sold tens of thousands of copies. I'm in the top 5% of all books, but it was nowhere near what it cost to do it. Like, unless you sell millions of copies, you're not making money. But I still get emails from all over the world, and they translated it into like Italian and French and random things like, I'm 65 and I did my first 10 push-ups, or I lost 20 pounds, or your book spoke to me. That to me is worth everything. That's actually truly, that's what I did it for. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
That's cool. Give me the 5 biggest fitness myths.
5 biggest fitness myths. So I think the first one is that you can do it overnight. So, and even the 3-month transformation photos, oh man, I'm wary of 90% of them. They get a completely different tan, totally different lighting. They've starved themselves, in my opinion, professionally. Like 75% of them are enhanced with some drugs and chemicals, which again, I want to be clear, I'm not against anything, but I'm against lying. So if you take things, be honest about the things you're taking. Don't say it was protein and hard work, and then it was also testosterone and growth hormone and all these other things. Like, okay, say that. Don't lie and false advertise. That the hypocrisy really bothers me because it's very, very prevalent.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first one is that of the time frame that what you can achieve, because it sets people up for failure, and it also sets them up for then feeling bad about themselves and believing these lies. The second one is the prevalence of the drugs, whether it's Ozempic or peptides or testosterone, all there. To everyday people who don't know, I feel like I'm almost on this weird crusade. I'm never going to out anyone by name or whatever, but the amount of people taking these things is significantly more. Like whatever number you're thinking of is probably 10 times that. It's like, it's very, very, very high. And again, I'm okay with personal choice. Do what you'll do. But if your neighbor started taking TRT at 55 and he's just getting yoked, and you're like, I've been working so hard, why did Jim pass me? And he's just lying through his teeth and saying he started taking creatine or something. That bothers me, because we have a ton of teenagers or middle-aged women or guys feeling bad about themselves already. And then someone's getting results. And if they're not willing to be vulnerable or open about the fact that they have a little help along the way, then the person working really hard is going to feel like they're not enough, when really it's, oh, well, this person's working hard too, but they have some help that's making it 5 times more effective. So I think that's important for people to realize, that like, it's not just someone outworking you, and not that you're not enough. It's that chemical, like the difference between a natural and an enhanced person is dramatic. And if you need that help, go consult your doctor and go for it. But if not, don't be surprised when you don't get superhuman results if you're just living a normal human life. So that's a big one.
Okay. Number
3 is food. Food, everybody thinks it's their hormones, or that they have a gluten intolerance, or that they have a dairy intolerance. The studies are pretty clear. Like less than 3% of people actually are celiac or have all these issues. And the number is staggering, but basically everyone overestimates how many calories they burn in a day on average by 40%. So like I burned 2,000 calories today. It was probably 1,200. And then the trackers and the Apple Watch and the treadmills, what they say you burned are way, way off. And then if people track their own macros and calories, they underreport on average by 30%. So if you take the difference, you're not burning 40% more than you think you are, and you're overeating by 30% that you're tracking wrong. Basically, the myth is that people all see these devices and they believe them and they track the things and they're wrong, and they think it's really easy to lose weight. And it actually takes some effort. Some people get lucky, but for the most part, if you got 40, 50 pounds to lose, but even if you have 20 pounds to lose or 10, it takes a concerted effort. And it's not as simple as simply like, oh, I'm going to make a few switches here and there. Like if you got to that point of being decently overweight, and you want to make that change, you don't have to, but if you want to make that change, it's very likely you're going to have to make some big changes in your life. Alcohol is a huge one for people, or soda. It's a lot of the liquids. It's alcohol, soda, coffee, but not just black coffee. You have the Frappuccino double blended mocha, whatever, that's 600 calories, right? So the third one, I think, is just everything that revolves around food. The fourth one is supplements. There is no supplement that will do anything, really. Like if you're deficient in vitamin B12 or vitamin D or zinc, yes, take that thing. It's a very simple process. Go to your doctor, get a blood test, ask for a hormone panel, a physical, the CBC. You'll look through everything. If everything checks out decently fine, you probably don't need that many supplements. Taking berberine and turmeric and spending, I've seen clients spend hundreds, thousands of dollars a month on this, the new fat loss or the new oxyelite or the new that. None of them are magic. The only ones that work in a very unsafe method, which is they boost your heart rate so that you're burning more calories at rest. So if you've ever taken a supplement and you're sitting still and it feels like you're running a marathon, sure, you're burning more fat. It's also terrible for you and it's not sustainable. And you're going to probably have anxiety and be sweaty and sleep terribly and everything's going to suck. So like there are some supplements that are useful. Protein powder, creatine, omega-3, multivitamin, but I can count on two hands all the supplements you'll ever need in your life. And outside of that, the multi-billion-dollar industry that is take this and you don't have to work hard, or put this thing around your abs, literally, and it will shake you until your six-pack work. Like none of those are real. And the ones that are marginally like give you a 5% boost, they're not safe. So either way, I would avoid it. And I wouldn't mess with that. And then the fifth one is really that the gym is everything. I think people now are in this biohacking thing where like you work out and you do this thing and you take this supplement, you do this drip, and kind of all the four things I mentioned. And you can just negate the fact that basic human function is necessary. So sleep is the basis of everything, right? And so I think the biggest myth is just people thinking that working more or working harder or working longer will yield more results. You have the people on the one hand who want to take the first four steps I talked about, and they're basically like not doing anything and they want shortcuts, or they see someone taking shortcuts and they wonder why. So that's like the first four. The fifth one is the opposite end of that kind of spectrum, where they're working out 2 hours a day doing strength training, and then they're jogging for 2 hours, and then they're doing yoga, and they're basically working out so much and they think more is more. And then they're like, yeah, these less is more weaklings. What are they doing? You know, but rest is overtraining and underfueling. They're overtraining, undereating, undersleeping, and they're beating their body into the ground. You can be mentally tough, but like David Goggins is 1 in 8 billion. And frankly, I don't even think it's a great method. I get a lot of flack when I disagree with him, but I'm like, most people don't want to be like him. Most people would hope their daughter or son never dates anyone like that. Like being that hard is not sustainable unless that is what you value above everything else. If you're just like, hey, I'm a dude, hey, I'm a husband or wife, and I have a job and I have kids, or I'm traveling and I'm a consultant, or I'm just like trying to survive the day without feeling crappy, setting yourself up to try and be this perfection person, and I got to work out 3 hours and not ever eat a carb and all this, like doing too much is just as destructive, if not more destructive, than doing nothing. And all of the balance is in the middle. So that's that fifth one, is overdoing it. To the people that applies to, it's funny how many people I train when I have to make them eat more and work out less. And they're like, what the crap? My body looks better and I feel better by eating more and training less. That makes no sense. I'm like, no, it actually makes perfect sense. It's just not the experience you've lived for the last 10 years.
I love it. All right. Phil, where can people find you? They want to follow you and kind of become part of your tribe.
Yeah, thanks, man. Pretty simple. So at Trained by Phil, and that's trained in the past tense. Some people are like, I look trained by Phil. I'm like, no, it's not trained. It's at Trained by Phil. I'm highly responsive on Instagram. By far, that's the platform I use the most. But you can find me on Twitter, Threads, Facebook, wherever. Trained by Phil. YouTube. I put it everywhere. Trainedbyphil.com as well. But yeah, Instagram, I do live Q&As every Monday. I answer questions like debunking fitness myths, answering questions about what, if you only have 30 minutes a day, what's the most effective, or how much cardio, or all these different things. So Trained by Phil, I'm out there. I do offer one-on-one coaching virtually online all around the world, and got an app I'm working on. But yeah, more than anything, I'm just all about building the fitness community and trying to have an honest conversation about not just how do we look and perform better, but how can we actually be healthy and kind of dispel the BS out there, because there's so much of it. Everyone's trying to sell you something, and there's some room for healthy skepticism, and there's definitely room for good work and good habits. Just like you said, nothing's gonna be motivational or oh yeah, I want to do it every day, but that discipline and that habit, you're gonna thank yourself later when you feel much healthier and happier in life.
All right. I love this conversation. You hit a lot of key points. And I think now in this time, people need real advice. There's so much stuff they're listening to and hearing. And you hit on something as far as the supplements. And what I try to stress to people is that there's a serious $1 million, $1 billion companies that have these well-paid marketers who know how to find your pressure points, your weak
Oh
points.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And then you put this person on who looks amazing, and they probably don't even do half the stuff they're telling you they're doing. But it's a business, and it is a challenge because you don't know how many times a day. And I know my clients will watch this, and some of them are going, "That's me." I get 10 or 12 things. Have you heard about this? What about
Oh
this?
yeah. Oh yeah.
And my friend did this, and it's like, okay, the basics, right, left, and then add some more steps to it,
You got it.
But cool, Phil. Well, I appreciate it. I'm gonna take a look at your book. I missed that part, but I'm gonna definitely take a look at it, read it. I like to read, keeps me busy. And we look forward to maybe having you back in the future if you got something
that'd
new
be great.
going on. And
That'd be
I'm
great.
following you now, so I'm enjoying your stuff. And I look forward to us chatting again soon.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'll get you back. I saw you on Facebook. I got to get on my Instagram here, so I'll do that. And yeah, I appreciate it, and appreciate you as well. Just having this community of people who are just trying to stay in their most optimal, healthy form. It's a lot easier to stay in shape than to get in shape. So you start today and keep going, and you'll thank yourself. I promise it's all worth it. That's, we share that same message, and I'm so happy to be here with you.